So I think we should start our microgreens discussion. I don't think we should wait any longer.
Okay.
So I want you to, yeah. So if you don't need to share the screen, we're just gonna watch you. I'm just gonna mute myself.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go over here back to my windowsill and show you what my windowsill looks like first. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm on. Okay. Let's see. As soon as I figure out and all these texts stop coming at me. Whoops. There we go. So this is my windowsill. So I use tofu. I'll bring these closer and show, but like this one here is endive here. And then in the back there is a spicy salad mix. And then over there in the back is arugula. I think that's must be number 2. And that's how I keep track of what it is. See, I have numbers on those little things. And then I have a chart over here that I list them on because it changes every week. I started those on Saturday. And that's where they are. And I'll show you how I do it because I cover them for a couple days while they're sprouting. And then these are my seedlings that I started from seed. And then in the back there, I was going to harvest these yesterday, but those are my peas. And they're in at Costco, you know, you can get whole edamame in these containers. And so we just save the containers and they're great for my peas. And this is the 3rd growth. So when I harvest these later today, in fact, I'll just show you how I do it. That's the 3rd cutting I've gotten off of those seeds. So that's pretty cool because they just keep growing. You cut them and they just keep growing. And then because it usually last summer, this window, I'll back up a little bit, excuse my mess, but this window gets a lot of sun in the summer. So I don't have to use the light bar. See, here's, but in the winter, it doesn't work. There's just not enough light. This is the north, I'm facing north here. So we strung up this light bar and it's 1 cool tube and 1 warm tube. Somebody in one of my groups said, do it that way. And I went, okay, because I tried LED lights and they didn't work and it was horrible. I didn't like it at all. So let me switch you back here because I'm not going to be able to hold it. I'll go in my window here. Move back. Okay. So what I'm going to do, these are my seeds. I got them from True Leaf. It's a seed company. And what I did, I bought them individually the last time I ordered, but this time I just kind of ordered a pack that they picked what went in it because I thought I'm not really particular. Just give me whatever and then I'll see what kind I like. And that's how I got the endive. But I noticed that my endive, after I took off the cover, that they dried out really quickly. So endive uses a lot of water, I think. And I'll show you how I water them. So anyway, I'm going to do curled cress because I have 3 tofu things and some kale and some radish. I won't do them all with you guys. I'll just do one so you can see what it is. So number 5 here. So what this is, take out number 4. I've already put the dirt in it and it's just potting soil. And I suggest getting the indoor potting soil because there's less chance of there being bugs in it, in my opinion. So I just filled that up. And then what I do is in the bottom, if you can see that of my tofu container, I put holes in it. And so that sits inside of another one. And that's how I water it. So I like turn it sideways like this. And I use my water and I just fill it up. These are really moist, so I'm not going to do that right now. But then it sits right inside and then it filters the water from below. And it also pulls the roots to it. So that's about it basically. And then, and I learned that, by the way, to use the tofu containers from Grace. She was the one that actually got me starting to do this. So this is where I keep all my seeds. Okay, so let's go ahead in number 4, and I'm going to put the curled cress. And I'm using a teaspoon as measurement, but it's really not measured. Oh, these are interesting seeds. Let's see, can you see that, or is that too close? They're kind of different than the other ones. So, and all I'm going to do here is just sprinkle it. And you all know that when during the microgreen, before they become real big plants, that's where all the nutrients are, right? So as you can see, that's how much I put on it, 1 teaspoon. Okay, in fact, while I have you, I'm going to go ahead and do the other one so I can show you how I close off how I cover them. So number 5 is going to be the radish. And it's interesting, I did beet, but a while ago, the problem with the beet is the outer cap of the seed. It's hard and it doesn't soften as it grows. And I'm not sure how to fix that. So there's the radish, and see, it's a bigger seed. And then I'll do the kale. I haven't done the kale yet. This is the first one. I'm going to just pull this whole rack out here. Ooh, kale are tiny. And they're black. Okay. And then I also pulled out some sprouting that I'm doing that I thought I'd show you all too, if you want. Okay, so that's my kale. And then what I do, because it's already been watered from the bottom. When I filled these, I put water in the bottom so that it's very moist down there. But then I take a squirt bottle and I moisten the top of them. I don't cover them at all. Broccoli grows really quick as microgreens, as does mustard. My favorite is arugula. There's something about the bitterness of that arugula that is just so intensified. I don't know, I think it's spicy. It's really not bitter to me. Okay, so those are kind of moist on top. And then what I do, I'm going to take my little spikes that have the numbers on them and lay them flat, because there's 2 options here. You can take cellophane or saran wrap, plastic wrap, and go over them and then just set them in a dark place. Or they're not in a dark place. I have a small freezer in the other room, and I just set them on top. It's not like it's dark or anything. But in my windowsill, because there's so much light with the lights going on, I take another tray and I put over the top of it like this. And then I take a dish towel and cover it. I usually do 2 because it's not quite big enough to go from end to end, just like that. So, and then I'll put those back in my windowsill. During the real cold of our winter, I did put these on top of the freezer in the other room. So those will sit there for 2 days at least. And in about 2 days, I'll start to see the little furriness, and there's like a furriness. At first I thought it was mildew or mold, but it wasn't. It's something about the plant. And then as soon as it's, you know, got maybe 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch is when I'll take the lid off, the top off, and just let it grow green into the light. And then the other thing that I did on Saturday when I planted those other ones, was I started sprouting chickpeas. Can you see that? Can you see the sprouting in that? There's there and there and there. I just don't know what to do with these. Do I have to cook them or can I eat them raw? Timmery, I need you to answer.
Good question. Good question. Okay. Let me do a little check.
Okay, what I do with this now, not all of them have sprouted, but what I did, in fact, I'm going to do lentils today. This is 1/2 cup of lentils, and I have rinsed them one time. But what I'll do is then what you do is you fill up the jar with water and you let it sit overnight. Well, you know, basically you're going to rinse it. And I got these through Amazon. They're sprouting lids. See how they have the holes in them? And then what I do is when I'm rinsing them, because I've rinsed this once every day and then dumped it out and then just put it on top of my freezer that's in the other room. And I mean, you could set this in the corner in your kitchen and it should be fine. But you put these on. And then, you know, I'm going to turn it over and it's going to go splattering everywhere. And then I take one of the lids, the mason jar flat lids, and I put it upside down on it while I shake it. And then let it drain. And then I'll fill it up one more time and let it soak overnight. And then tomorrow when I pour out that water, then I'll rinse it once every day. Some people say you have to rinse it more, but I did it once and it was fine. You could maybe do it once in the morning and once at night. I'm not one to be tied into a schedule like that. So once a day worked fine for me. And so we'll see. I mean, I'm going to let this sit and then tomorrow I'll pour it out and we'll see how long it takes. And these are lentils. And I know you can eat these raw.
Well, and I'll give you I found some information about the sprouted chickpeas. Can everybody hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can, it depends on how long you want to sprout. So they say that you can do, and the idea about washing it, so it says drain and rinse the chickpeas at least 2 to 3 times a day. Rinse more frequently, especially in hot weather. So if it's pretty cool in your house, you may be able to get away with less, but if it starts to heat up, then you're going to get more potential for mold and things. But it says repeat this process 2 to 3 times a day until garbanzo beans have sprouted sufficiently. This will take 3 days for short sprouted chickpeas for cooking, or 5 days for longer sprouts for raw consumption. Once the chickpeas have sprouted to the desired degree, give them a final rinse and rinse and drain well. Any skins that have come loose can be picked out, but they don't impact taste or digestibility. Let the chickpea sprouts air dry for a bit, then refrigerate them up to a week. If you prefer your chickpeas cooked, steam them for 10 minutes. You will have a more easily digested legume than with standard cooking.
Cool.
So,
well, I guess these are ready though, but not all of them look like they're sprouted.
Yeah, and in the picture they showed, it doesn't look like all of them look like they're sprouted either. But so how many days have you done those?
I did this on Saturday, so 5 days.
Okay, so yeah, and I think part of that too is how warm has it been in the kitchen, you know, to encourage the sprouting.
Right.
So if you think they're long,
warmth versus sun is different, right?
Right.
I mean, it is, yeah. For sprouting anyway. So, they look fun.
Yeah, they look beautiful and they look nice
with all
and
those
big.
little tails.
So pop one in your mouth and see
Yeah,
what happens. The the one good.
Yeah, they're crunchy. You know what I think I will do with these? Because I only did a small, it was my first trial. I think I'll season them and then air fry them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because
If you think they're soft enough,
they're
then
firm.
but I mean, you're not adding more liquid. If you steam them, then they'll get softer.
Right.
I would take half of them, steam them, and then air fry them, and the other half just air fry them, just to
That's a good idea.
play around with it.
That's a yeah.
But yeah, so just need to be aware for everybody of bacteria growing and things when it's warm, and because we're doing these at room temperature. If you put them in the fridge, they don't sprout.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we don't.
So when it gets warmer, then definitely 2 times a day, if not 3. Set my alarm on my phone 3 times a day to rinse my beans.
Yeah.
When you're making them, because if it only takes 3 days,
right.
It's like that's the weekend. Or start them on Wednesday, and this is of course after we all go back to normal life.
Yeah.
Start them on Wednesday, and you can eat them on Saturday.
Absolutely. Annette has her hand raised. I don't know if she's planning to do that or if that was by accident. No, go ahead.
How do I type in a question? Is there a way to type in a question?
Yeah, in the chat. So do you see there should be at the bottom corner? Okay, then you can type in. And Lori asked, could you grow this outside on a deck? Could you do your microgreens outside on a deck?
Lori, are you talking about your deck?
I assume so.
Okay. Of course, duh. I think you could, because you don't want microgreen. Well, you need to make sure you got some light on it though, because like I said, you know how my window is. Yeah. And in the summertime or in the wintertime, there's not enough light to sprout them.
Okay.
But yet in the summertime, it's absolutely fine. I didn't need to do any. In fact, I'll probably take the light down in the for the summer. What?
My cats are my concern. They would dig it up. The cats would dig up.
Yeah. Well,
could you create something that protects them?
Well, on your patio, do you have any? Yeah, for outside cats. I mean, there's critters that run around.
Yeah, it's my indoor kitties.
Right, but I mean, if you put them outside, not the cats, but the greens, if you put them outside, is there a way to protect them from any outside critters?
Yeah.
Okay. I would try it. Seeds are not expensive.
Yeah.
And try it. It's like a minimal thing, because when I first did them, there were a couple I had to, well, more than a couple probably, that I had to dump and go, okay, that didn't work. It needs to be warmer, or because when they're sitting covered for 5 or 6 days and they haven't sprouted, it's a concern that they could have been dead seeds or something. But some of the seeds do take a little bit longer, because what I'll do with these, because these are the first time I've used these, except for the radish, that's actually daikon. And so I'll see how long that they'll take, because the other ones that I did, the endive is very small compared to the salad mix and the arugula. And I planted them on the same day.
Okay. Yeah, they'll have different times. So another question for you, Trina, I can be your mediator.
Okay.
Is Annette's asking about what temperature is considered warm and cool. And I think that was the type of fluorescent light, correct?
Oh, correct. Yes, because with the lighting, I tried to put in like an LED plant light that I happened to get at Costco, and it did nothing, absolutely nothing. And so I went online and talked to a friend of mine, and she said, oh, no, you need 1 cool tube and one warm tube as far as the lights.
And that's
But as
something
far
at
as
Home
the
Depot.
temperature in the room, yeah, I mean, those are, I think I got them at Walmart. You know, the tubes.
Okay.
And what somebody said, be sure to get them now because, you know, they're phasing out fluorescent tubes
Hmm.
and they're all coming in with LEDs. So if you're gonna, you know, want to do that. But as far as the temperature in the room, right now it's too cool to not have the light, and there's not enough light. Well, of course,
Okay.
we've had rain and it's cloudy today and everything. But once the sun comes out, it'll be warm enough in here that, and light enough, because the light is what gives it the photosynthesis. That's what gives it the green part, because the sprouts are not green because they don't have any light. That you want warmth for the sprouting and light for the photosynthesis. Does
And
that help?
yeah, and Annette wants to know, what's the temperature of your house? Ish.
Cool.
I know we're cold. We're on the cold
My
side.
thermometer, my thermostat is set at 68,
Okay.
but my feet need socks.
Yeah, me too. I know. I
Yeah.
need socks right now. I think we're at 66. You know, because I don't want to spend more on the power.
Right. Well,
And-
it's funny because my system is horrible anyway. Yeah, never mind.
Now, Kathy's asking, and you kind of answered it. Are the microgreens covered at first for darkness and humidity?
Say that again because you broke up.
Are the microgreens covered at first for darkness and humidity?
Yes. Did you do that before you didn't get to go to the greenhouse? Did you guys plant seeds at all?
We did, yeah.
And you put them in the box?
No, we didn't use the box.
Oh, what'd you do? How'd you sprout them?
We put, like our tomato seeds, we put in peat pots and
Right.
put on a table that stays moist.
Oh, okay. You skipped the box. We used a box. The
No, we
box.
didn't, we never used the box.
Okay.
So they
Well,
weren't, they had humidity, but they weren't in darkness.
And they sprouted great.
Yeah.
Cool.
I guess at this point, the basil and the hydroponics is going crazy.
I'm sure it did when during our class as well. The kale and the broccoli leaves did. Just humongous. And you guys don't get to see it. Is he sending you pictures?
Yeah, periodically we get to see pictures.
Oh, good.
So,
Good.
hey,
A friend of mine that's in Alaska that I may have talked to you guys about a little bit. She's the one that had the recipe for the mayo, Delisa, Delisa's mayo in my cookbook. But I spoke up in Alaska a couple of times. She's in Anchorage and she does videos, and she did a video for microgreens just recently. And so I was going to see if that's something that's shareable, if she doesn't mind, because I think she put it on YouTube. But she uses big trays
Sure.
that you would get at like Lowe's or whatever in their garden section.
Yeah.
And she must do them all inside. I don't know if she does some outside or not, but lots of greens. But she covers it and she sprinkles her seeds on, and she uses like almost like a cinnamon sugar shaker, with holes in the top, or like a cheese shaker, and she puts her seeds in there and she shakes them on because she's doing big. So
Right.
yeah, so that was kind of interesting. I can even try to open up the video. We can watch a few minutes of it just to see what she does differently, but I don't want to take away from what we're doing now.
Yeah, no, my thing is just works for my windowsill. That's the thing. What I've also done is I've grown them in, when you buy the big thing of mushrooms at Sam's or Costco, I've
Mhm.
done them in that.
Hmm.
Same thing. But what I like to make, the problem that I don't like about those is that they're so deep. And I don't want to use that much dirt because I don't have a composter. You know, I don't compost, and you don't reuse these because they're just, it's full of roots.
Roots. Okay.
And I like to have my soil as close to the top so that when I go to, oh, you want me to show you how I harvest my peas?
Yeah. 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 Please.
So here's my peas. See my little ladybugs that a very special friend gave me for Christmas,
Very cute.
otherwise known as Lori. So, okay, let's see, how am I gonna do this? I have to take them out though, because they'll get cut. I'm gonna bring you down a little bit here. Hopefully there's enough light. Okay, and then I have my handy dandy scissors. Let me get a paper towel. And a container. Put my paper towel in the container. Let's see. And all you do, it's pretty, oh, these are really dry. Because I've been waiting for you guys so I can harvest them. Can you see what I'm doing here?
Cutting.
I'm cutting. So there we go. I have to admit, I don't wash them because I don't put dirt on top. I don't even wash them. Timmery might have a problem with me doing that, but I figure they're in my house. And there's no bugs on it or no spray and no pesticides or anything like that. So there we go. And these will, you know, you can eat these, have a microgreen salad, or just top your microgreens. What we've been doing is we love tacos. We have tacos a lot, usually with a lentil filler. And then for our greens in that, we'll throw in the microgreens. And
They're great on tacos, like you said, and burgers and everything else.
yeah, anything. I mean, just anything. But see, this is how it looks. And those were the peas. And these are really dry. I don't know if I can get another thing out of them, another cutting.
So
But you know what?
you said this is your third cutting from that one set
Yes.
of peas.
And I
That's
think
amazing.
I planted these in, I want to say I wish I'd kept it because I have my little chart. Next time I'm going to keep it and figure out how long it was. At least the beginning of March,
Wow.
if not before that.
So you're talking about a teaspoon to a tablespoon, or is this
not of the
different?
peas, because the peas are here. Notice the bag is much bigger for the peas.
Okay.
In fact, like this is my cabbage, it's even smaller. But they look like this. And I do soak them, by the way. I do soak these one time like you do for sprouting. I do soak them before I put them on the dirt.
So how much do you think you used for that tray? A quarter of a cup or more than that?
Now, I wouldn't say well, maybe, because this tray is pretty big. See?
Yeah.
It's like the size of a baking dish. Maybe a cup. Let's see, how much was in this? This was a pound. And I think I started in September. And I still have that much.
And have you had continuous pea sprouts growing, or no?
Well, I would if I planned it right.
Okay.
You know, like this, I don't have another
Right.
thing started,
Right.
another thing. So if I were
But
to
I
do
mean,
it,
you kept making them every week. You
Yeah.
didn't take 2 or 3 months off of making pea sprouts.
no, well, there was a time that I didn't have any. I think we went somewhere.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I always plan that. So if we're gonna take a trip or something, then
Right.
I'll make sure that I don't have any, that they're all done. So when I come back, I am gonna have to wait 5 or 6 days before
Right.
I'll have any, for it to take to happen. But it's only 5 or 6 days. I mean, that's nothing.
Right.
Whoops.
I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
First question, and I might have just missed it when I was trying to do the tech side, is you had 2, it looks like 2 containers are like each of yours are doubled up. Do you
Correct.
put holes in one of them?
Yes, let me show you. Well, here.
Because that's what Delisa had said. She got
Yes.
one with holes and one without holes.
So here's my tofu ones. And you can see those holes.
Okay.
So the bottom one just in right now, I mean, it's full of water because I just watered this. I'm really concerned about this endive because it's my first time. And usually when I take off the covering after it's sprouted and then I spray it one more time and put it under the water or under the light and then put more water in the bottom, usually that's all I really have to do for at least 3 days. And these, I just took the cover off on Monday. So Saturday, I planted them. Monday, I took the cover off. And by today, these look like they're dead. I'm hoping, and I learned, my gosh, that's dry. The other ones aren't dry. So I'm wondering if the endive is just a very thirsty
Plant. Okay.
So this one may not last. And then I'll know that I have to make sure that those have to be watered or checked more regularly.
So when you do that setup where you put the seeds in, you spray them, you cover it with saran or another top,
Right.
and then the towel, and then put them, let's say, in your laundry room or what have you.
Sure.
Do you then spray them again during that 2-day time, or you leave it?
I leave it.
Unless maybe endive is going to need, after day 1, more spritzing.
Well, and it may be that the endive needs to have the plastic and not just the tray that I put
Right.
over, because the tray doesn't seal it like a plastic does.
Right, that would be more humid.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's the lesson, and that's the learning process of it.
Right. I need to read or watch all the way through Delisa's because I didn't get to see the whole thing, whether she puts them outside or not, or she does it all inside. I would assume she does it inside, but I don't know if people are. I would also think you could do microgreens outside.
Well, sure, you could. My thing is, I don't want to.
Right.
I just want to do it, get it done, and have it right here. And I don't have a green thumb in the yard, and we have a lot of squirrels.
Okay.
And every time I put chicken wire over, I have to put chicken wire with a hole in it to grow my stuff up through it. Because those squirrels, they like to bury their nuts.
Right.
And the problem is they forget where they bury them.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then they just dig it all up. And we went to Holland many years ago, and I brought all these bulbs back. Well, they shipped them to me, and they're gone because the squirrels just eat them. We live close to Elk Grove Park, and
Yeah.
they just love running along the fence because we don't have a cat and we don't have a dog to chase
You
them
got
out of our
bulbs.
yard.
Exactly.
So
Last question that I can think of right now is, what about the little bugs? Like, even just in my house, I'll get some of those, sometimes the little gnats,
Like
that I'm
the-
like, what fruit is
the fruit
going
flies?
bad? And sometimes it feels like nothing, like there is nothing around that seems to be a source for food. Have you had that? Like, I know you had said indoor potting soil, you'd made that recommendation.
I get those little gnats, those little fruit flies, when I'm ripening my bananas. That's usually when
Okay.
I experience them. And what my solution, and it has worked, I take one of these plates that's
Mhm.
very shallow, and I put apple cider vinegar in it. I kind of fill it up, and I set it where I see them kind of congregating. And
Okay.
it works. I mean, not all the time, but if my bananas aren't ripe, because I'm going to freeze them, you know, I
Right.
want them to be really ripe because we make oat muffins all the time, or cookies. We make them into cookies all the time. And then it's when I'm done with, you can tell that my bananas are over here, right? When then I'll peel them and I'll freeze them, and then my bugs are gone. I've caught
Right.
some of them here, and the rest of them seem to go away.
Okay. I've
So-
done it in a cup, but it's never really seemed, the apple cider vinegar or the vinegar, it's never really seemed to work that
Also
great.
with a couple drops of soap.
Okay. I'll
in that.
try it on a plate. Right now there's none, you know, but
Yeah.
I just thought if I start bringing microgreens in, is this going to just be a field day?
I would say it had nothing to do with microgreens.
Okay.
That for me, that's not been a problem, as long as I worked with indoor potting soil, because that's, well, I don't know, but I had seen that online. They said use indoor potting soil just for your microgreens that are inside the house.
Okay. No, that's great. Have you ever done any sprouting in a jar? Like, I know you were sprouting your beans, but have you done any microgreens in a jar?
No, I did lentils. Hang on just a minute.
Hi, Ken. We haven't said hi to you. I'm glad you're joining us.
But you make me want to do it. So this is a sprouting
Trey.
tray container thing, right? But for me, this makes too much to be ready when it's ready, it's too much for the two of us to eat.
Right. I bought something at Rayleigh's, like little sprouting tray that was much smaller.
Oh,
But I have to dig it out. I don't know where it is. You go on little harebrained, like, I'm going to dehydrate, I'm going to sprout, and you do all these things.
I don't know what that's like at all.
All these little projects. But I have to find, because now though we're eating so many greens, because now one of the things that I will do at some point is to walk around our little front yard, because now we're growing a lot of things, but we don't grow enough volume to feed us for our like salad mixes. And one of the things that I was going to have us all watch real quick was a video about the power of microgreens, which we'll do. But it still isn't enough volume. Like, oh, here's your quarter of a cup of microgreens. Now, the power nutrition wise is there, but there's only like half a
Quarter of a
calorie.
cup.
Exactly. So it's not enough. So I'm just trying to figure out, how I can grow the volume.
Well, the thing that I would say, because I was just listening to somebody else. Do you know who Dylan Holmes is from Well Your World?
I know that.
Well, he does salad dressings.
Yeah, you brought him into 303 as a something that you talked about.
Like,
Yeah,
here's some
Well
of
Your
his
World.
salad dressings and his sauces. They're all SOS free. But I started watching him way back when I first went plant-based. And the beginning ones are just him cooking and eating and slurping while he's eating. I hate, mukbangs, and I hate that. But now now that he's got these sauces and things, and he also makes a freeze-dried cheese sauce and a freeze-dried mushroom gravy. And then every 2 weeks he does a live cooking show. It's a subscription, but it's pretty basic in the sense of it's quick. But he has a new girlfriend, and she's taking it to the next step, the next level. But on Thursdays at 4, he does a live Q&A type thing. And the last time he did it, he talked a little bit about his sprouting, because he sprouts beans and lentils and all that stuff. And what he does, I know that was a long way to get to it. What he does with these, because he has these too, and when they get to the point where they're, you know, I think about like an inch, they're white because they haven't been in the sun. Then what he'll do is he'll take these and set them in the sun, and within a day, maybe two, they're green, you know, because then they're doing the photosynthesis. Yes, I have done wheat berry. I did wheat berry in this, Kathy. And
Okay.
that was so much, but they were so good. But you could have I could have put them in the sun and had them green up, I'm sure.
Those lentils, are those ones that you would just buy anywhere, or did you
Yeah.
get those online? Because I wonder, you know, some of those beans, those legumes that are at the supermarket and at Food for Less and Winco, and you know, some, they could have been 10 years old, and some of them are, which is not a bad thing. I just don't know how well they'll sprout.
Well, the last time I did lentils, which I did in this one, the big one,
Right.
they were fine. They were perfect.
Okay. And you didn't, they weren't expensive.
No, from the bulk bin. In fact, if you need lentils,
Okay.
let me know, because I went to I always get them at Winco, and they haven't had them because their bins
Yeah.
have empty.
Right.
Well, when I went in, I said, you guys, you know, they were emptying the ones that you pull down. And I said, what are you guys doing? Because I order wheat berry in the bulk bags for another job project that I do. And they said, well, what we're doing is we're taking these bins and we're washing them, and you're not going to use them because of the hand touching of the levers. And so they're putting them in baggies, and then you just pick bag in the bulk bin and put it, you know, take it on, and then you just weigh it. You don't get to pick how much you get. It's whatever's in the plastic bag that they've done.
That's what the food co-op has done.
Yeah, and that's what they did at Sprouts as well, I noticed. But so all they had was a 50-pound bag of lentils. Does anybody need any lentils?
I would love some, but I'm too far from you.
Yeah, you are. But I'll have lentils when all of this is over. I will
Right.
have lentils for a year or two.
No, that's good. Well, and that's what's so nice about those dry legumes is that, you know, and lentils cook up so fast, you know, and that's even without being sprouted. And they'll just melt into, you know, the sauce. That recipe on my website for winter spaghetti dinner, you know, which has the lentils that just basically melt into the tomato sauce. They're fantastic.
And that nutrition that you've added to it is like the best that you can get, because they're the highest nutrition, right? Is the lentils. Those are the best.
There are, I mean, when you're fighting with, I mean, beans, they're all amazing.
Right.
But the lentils and the black lentils, which we can get at the Indian spice stores, I'm interested. I have some of those. I should try to sprout those babies.
Those
You know,
are those
some
like
of
the French lentils?
No, they're different. They, I can go get some and show them. But Kathy had a question about wheatgrass. Yeah, I mean, I think that's basically, I think it's just like a microgreen. You know, I mean, it's just the wheatgrass.
It's a green.
Because, yeah, you can do like quinoa grass, you know, any amaranth, you know, any of those different, and they have different properties, you know, and phytates and all the rest of it.
I've sprouted wheat berry, but I never put it green. But the sprouts on them were over an inch and a half long, and you just scoop the whole thing out, and the root and everything, and eat the whole thing, because it's not in grass if you sprout.
Well, the wheat berries are so tasty. Just if you guys haven't, anybody who's on the call, if you haven't cooked with wheat berries, you just to cook with them, if you buy the wheat berries and you don't sprout them, to soak them overnight is how I did it. And then I cooked them for 45 minutes in a little bit of salted water, not a little bit, but salted water with a little salt, more water, obviously. And they're really nice, chewy. It's hard to describe because they're not like boba, you know, like everybody's into those boba, but it's a different texture, but it's really nice. Just kind of like on salad, you know, room temp kind of addition. Really good. Let me go get those
Well, is this
black
it here?
lentils.
These
No,
are French lentils.
no, they look different. They
Okay.
look different to me. I'm gonna go
Okay.
get them. And if other people have questions, ask.
Or just say something.
How is
Sakina,
everybody? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, you were talking about the wheat berries are not in dirt. How do you sprout them? Do
You just put them, you do it exactly the same way.
Okay, so in that much water?
Yeah, I mean, because you're just soaking it. Because
Okay.
you're gonna, like this tomorrow, I'm gonna dump out and then I'm gonna rinse it, and you have to rinse it every day.
Okay.
And we just learned that when it gets warmer, we're gonna have to rinse it every couple of days, you know, twice a day or 3 times a day. And then when I did it in this,
Well, tell them about the other stuff.
it was too, I think I only let it go 5 days, and there was so much. I mean, it was a lot, but it was really good. It was like sweet.
Okay, so
It
instead
had
of dirt, you're just letting it soak in water.
Well, it only soaks 1 day.
Okay.
So then this will be dumped out, and then it'll sit with air. You have to let air get in it. Like a lot of people, they'll take, see how this top is?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will take like plastic canvas, if you know what that is, if you're a crafter or a needle pointer.
What about just cheesecloth?
Oh, cheesecloth, sure. See, I think of, yeah, cheesecloth, just so that air can get in. Otherwise, you're going to get mold.
Okay.
And what you want to do, if you put the cheesecloth over it, and then you use the rim, right? So you've got your cheesecloth and then your rim. Then you can rinse it right through the cheesecloth. You don't even have to take that off every time and worry about losing it or how do I dump it, you know, because then the cheesecloth will let all the water come out. And these have little knobs on them, so I can set them upside down like this, so it'll drain, and I'll put a paper towel or a towel underneath it, so any residual water, or some people turn it on its side with the jar here so that it's getting some light. Maybe does that help?
Yeah, so you don't put water in it except for after you rinse it and let
Right,
it
like
soak.
this. Tomorrow, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to dump this,
Okay.
and then I will rinse it again and dump that, and then there won't be any water in it
Okay, and they
until
sprout.
until the next time I soak it or rinse it.
And then if you rinse it and then you flip it upside down to get all of the water out, you know, there's just the residual whatever, right? And then do you store it upside down to sprout?
That's what I did with the chickpeas. I
Okay.
stored it like this, or you can store it like this.
Yeah.
But I find that like this, any residual water, because when I was watching a YouTube video, you know, those wooden dish racks that are kind of at an angle, they're like two-tiered. They were putting them in that.
Oh, that's
They
nice. Yeah.
put them in that, and it's like, well, I don't have room for that, but that's how they were doing it. So that kind of indicated that you want the water, you don't want water sitting in it.
You don't want standing water.
Right.
Beyond that first day. And Kathy was just adding that you can use screening material, you know, from like window screens on it with a mason jar.
Is there a chemical on that though? I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know. And you can find those sprouting tops all over.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
find them meant for sprouting with the screen.
Yeah,
Probably-
Hobby Lobby does not carry them.
Who?
Hobby
Hobby
Lobby,
Lobby.
Hobby Lobby, okay.
because they have a lot of
Canning
the
stuff.
jars, the different jars and things. But I went in looking for them and I didn't have them. I ended up getting mine on Amazon.
This is the so that's what the black lentils, and look, let me see. See if my hand's in the way.
I'm trying to move my phone to see them.
Can you see them?
Oh yeah, they're bigger. They have a little white spot on them. Okay.
I don't know if everybody can see them.
Yeah, we can see pretty good.
Whoa, now they're all over. Now they're on the
Okay.
bedroom floor.
Okay, well,
My
that's good to know that those are different than French lentils.
So these remind me more. So the name on them is URID whole
URID.
ID. But what they remind me more of is the beluga lentils. Like I bought beluga lentils, which are the black lentils. But I got these at the Indian Spice Store by, on Bruceville
Yeah.
before we left for school. But you have to be aware because something I wasn't too happy about was I cooked them in the Instant Pot, but I would say a good 20% never softened. They would have broken your teeth. And I had to pick out every single one that was hard as a rock. There were good ones, and then there were ones that were hard as a rock. And I was cooking for someone else, and it was painful. It took me probably an hour and a half to pick through. I mean, I probably should have just thrown them away, but I don't know if it's because I didn't soak them overnight. Because they're lentils. They don't need to be soaked, and I did it in the Instant Pot. But I don't know what happened. So
Oh, that's interesting because I'm looking at, this is my
Yeah.
Instant Pot book, my favorite book.
I have this one. Yes.
And looking at that, it shows that the black beluga or French green, unsoaked beans, it says 4 to 6 minutes with natural release.
No, I cooked them longer, and some were perfect, and some would have broken your teeth. I mean, as if like hard as a rock. I mean, and you could even hear them tink, tink, tink in the bowl.
Did you try it again on the stove?
No, I just picked them out and threw them away. Those. And I just, because I needed them. Like I was cooking for someone that, so
another time. Have you done it again?
I haven't yet. So what I think I want to do with those now is soak them overnight and then try. Because they're not like a regular lentil.
Yeah, they're more like a bean.
Yeah, they don't act like a regular lentil. But then some of them were cooked, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I'd say about 20%. But I was so worried that I was going to miss one and someone was going to break their tooth.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, let us know. That will be curious.
Yeah. So I'll check that. I'll test that out. I should probably see if those will sprout. I don't know. That would be an interesting.
Yeah, try it.
Yeah, because you can do like quarter of a cup or a cup or whatever. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I don't know if I do any more. This was a half a cup of chickpeas, and this was
looks like it's a lot.
Well, they
get big.
They absorb the water,
right?
And then this was a half a cup of lentils, and that's how much it filled up. Because you got to give room for those lentils to grow.
Sprout, right?
Yeah, sprout. That would be the word.
Yeah, that's awesome. Does anybody have any other questions about microgreens or sprouting or experience doing either? If not, then I'll take us to that video, but I want to give people a chance.
I hope it was informative.
Very much so.
Yes.
It's been awesome.
I'm going to come back and sit down now since we're going to watch a video.
Ken, have you done any sprouting at home?
Ken!
Hey, no, I haven't done any sprouting. I'm thinking about it. That's why I'm here watching.
Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Okay, let's see here.
Thinking about well, for the 313 that I'm in the class with Kathy, I want to start doing more greens and a variety of greens, so I can sustain my own salad habit without having to go out there and buy it.
I know, it's true. I mean, that's what we're talking about, that you certainly don't get the same number of bites. You know, we
Right.
like to back the truck up and have a big salad, but if you feel like it's really giving the nutrition boost, you know, for cheaper, then obviously you would buy the sprouts for. I buy broccoli sprouts at Rayleigh's, and they're not that expensive for a little, you know, $1.99.
Right.
But you know, how nice would it be if it was, I don't know, a quarter of a teaspoon worth of sprouts that could make that amount?
Yeah. Well, I would say, yeah, and broccoli grows really quick because the very first seed that I ever did was broccoli.
Okay.
And they probably grow quicker than any of the other ones as far as a microgreen.
Yeah,
And plus
that's
the
great.
nutrition from the nutrition and the nitric oxide results from broccoli is so good. Just sprinkle some mustard on it, right?
Oh yes,
Well, no,
exactly.
Not if you haven't cooked it, because it's not the same if you don't cook it, right? With the
Yeah.
sulforaphane.
Yeah, so let me take you guys to, I'm gonna share my screen. And then we'll watch two quick videos. Let me take you there. Let me get to my screen share. And let's do this. And hopefully this will work. Can you hear?
Can't
Are
hear
we
it.
here? Are we hearing any of it?
Not so far.
Okay, let me see.
A group of Russian scientists recently published a database of the antioxidant content of more than 1,000 foods, including, for the first time, an impressive array of before and after shots of what happens to seeds when you sprout them. As you can see, the antioxidant content goes up across the board. So sprouted lentils, for example, had twice the antioxidant content as unsprouted. Chickpeas, 5 times more. Wheat and rye, 10 times more. And amaranth started out as the piddly underdog, but went up 20-fold.
Okay, that was a quick one. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to take you to the other one that I want to take you to. Okay, this one. Not that one. Hold on.
A few years ago, in an analysis of antioxidants per unit cost, I concluded that red cabbage, purple cabbage, was the most nutrition you could get for your money. Yes, there are healthier foods out there, but not healthier foods for the same amount of money. I encouraged everyone to always make sure they have a purple cabbage in their crisper to slice off shreds to put in whatever they could, last for weeks, cheap, convenient, and one of the healthiest things on the planet. All still absolutely true. My new calculations, though, suggest they just got one-upped by DIY broccoli sprouts. Do it yourself. Broccoli sprout seeds start out like this. You can buy them online or at your local health food store in bulk for about 20 bucks a pound. But that makes about 75 cups of sprouts. So it comes out to be about 25 cents per cup. And as we saw before, in terms of sulforaphane content, that's equivalent to eating about 27 cups of broccoli. So that's like going to the store and buying broccoli for a penny a cup. Even purple cabbage has got to give it up for broccoli sprouts. Start out with a mason jar with some kind of screen top, a tablespoon of seeds, soak them overnight, drain in the morning, and then rinse twice daily. So day 2, day 3, day 4, and then you can enjoy the bounty. 1 tablespoon of seeds makes about 2 cups of sprouts. Since it takes 4 or 5 days, though, sometimes I'll have 5 jars in constant rotation. Can be in the middle of the winter, and I'm growing my own salad. Every day you get cups of fresh produce for pennies without ever having to go to the store.
I love it.
Yeah, so isn't that cool? I thought that was a good, quick video, you know, those 2 videos for us just to see. And he even reiterated that whole process. which was
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah, the same way. Now that's interesting though. He said 1 tablespoon in a mason jar. He didn't say what size that mason jar was, but I would assume it was a quart.
It looked like a quart if he
Yeah.
was, yeah. And it
Yeah.
filled it up.
Yeah, in 5 days. You could start 1 every day. You'd always have greens,
I
microgreens.
see the wheels turning in Ken's brain too, thinking I could do it 1 a day, 1 a day, 1 a day. Same thing with the sprouted. So he has another one with sprouted beans, cooked beans or sprouted beans. So yeah, I mean, I think the options are endless, you know, on this. And the part that I really like about the microgreens, we'll go back. Kathy's got a question, is that for people who don't quote unquote like greens, which maybe a few people on this call, but definitely people who we live with, they're not going to eat 27 cups of broccoli, but you can stick a little tablespoon of broccoli sprouts into the bun on a burger or what have you. And if we know we're getting that much nutrition bang for our buck, it makes it feasible.
I wonder if he has the chart, because I'm curious on those peas, because they grow so well.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much, how much better the pea is in nutrition.
Yeah, we could, I can
Yeah, I'll
look
look. I'll look.
at the, because he always references the research, so he may have peas listed on that chart.
Yeah, I'll go look.
So is there a difference between sprouts and microgreens? Kathy is asking. That's a good question. I would assume that, again, as Trina was saying, the sprouts are the white, sprout that comes out, versus once it hits the light and then the photosynthesis can happen, then it turns into a microgreen. Is that what you understand?
Because it has to be green. I wonder if it would be interesting to find out if there's any technical research about the difference, at what point, which one is more nutritious. But I think that even as a sprout, it's pretty high in nutrition, because
Oh yeah.
it's just, everything's just wanting to, sprout and come out and be there.
Well, and when you think of a plant, I mean, all the nutrition comes from the seed. That's why the seeds are much more nutrient dense than nuts. When we talk about nuts and seeds, because that seed is the genesis for the whole entire plant. So of course it needs sun and water and the rest of it, but it's developing all the enzymes and all the wonderful compounds that will keep it safe and alive out in the wild. And that's why the organic are more hardy, because they have to deal with what's happening in the world without having pesticides and the rest of it. So they end up being a little hardier, sometimes a little stronger flavor, like wild spinach versus the baby spinach that you get at the supermarket that's
Right.
grown all, in basically captivity almost.
Well, it's interesting, the difference between the, not amaranth, gosh, can't even remember now. What's my favorite? The bitter.
Arugula.
The arugula, thank you. The difference between the arugula microgreens and the arugula you buy in the grocery store, the microgreens are much more intense with that
Yeah.
peppery flavor. Absolutely.
That's one of my favorites.
Is it?
Arugula, yeah.
Love it.
So I found something that's interesting since we're all just listening and thinking. A research from the Urban Cultivator website. So it says, when someone says the word microgreen, what's the first thing you think of? The baby version of the mature vegetable, of course. It's a sprout. They're really pretty delicious, decorative, or they're pretty decorative plants. Only one of those responses above are accurate. Microgreens, contrary to very popular belief, are not the same thing as sprouts. In fact, not only do they look and taste different, but even the way in which they are grown are different. The other difference is that microgreens and sprouts are technically at different parts of the growing cycle of any given vegetable or herb. All plants start as seed. Think of the seed as an embryo. Seeds are embryos that come with a protective shell, which is called the seed coat. And it contains all of the wonderful nutrients and vitamins that the plant's inside needs to burst out of the coating. Between the protective coating and the embryo is the endosperm, which wraps around the embryo and gives the little baby nutrition. So the sprouts, then come sprouting. Sprouts are germinated seeds. What this means is that the germ of the seed awakes from its slumber and becomes a real live plant. Using the nutrients stored in the seed, the embryo develops its stem. Imagine a bean sprout. That's the infant's plant stem. If you let a sprouting seed grow, then it eventually becomes a full-grown plant. But then what you have are crunchy, refreshing sprouts. But until then, what you have are crunchy, refreshing sprouts. Oftentimes, people germinate sprouts in water. To ensure they do not mold, those seeds are rinsed once or twice a day. Sprouts grow really quickly and can be harvested in 4 to 6 days. Very little light and nutrition, none at all actually, is needed for sprouts to grow.
Oh, needed.
Plus, they are packed in fiber, protein, essential nutrients, and enzymes. Sprouts are tasty and great for you. A word of caution. Sprouting seeds require a certain amount of humidity, a condition in which bacteria thrive in. According to foodsafety.gov, there have been at least 30 reported outbreaks of foodborne illness associated with sprouts since 1996. One way to try to reduce the risk of illness is to cook the sprouts, which will hopefully kill all the bacteria. Sprouts are used in a number of dishes, mostly for their textural contrast as opposed to their visual appeal. They're very relatively mild in flavor. Now, the microgreens are the result of the cotyledon, cotyledon growth stage, which is when the first couple of leaves from a plant appear. That stage usually becomes the plant's first set of leaves. Oh, the first little set of leaves. They're formed in the seed and function in the same way as leaves do when it comes to photosynthesis. Both convert light energy into chemical energy that the plant will use to grow. The leaves and stems can generally be eaten, and the seeds are started in soil and peat moss as opposed to water like sprouts. The soil is what gives the plants nutrients. They take a little longer to grow, around 1 to 3 weeks, depending on the plant. The seed, unlike sprouts, cannot be eaten as it's in soil. Microgreens also require lots of light and good air ventilation, just like when you grow any plant in or outdoors. Microgreens shouldn't be confused with baby greens. Baby greens don't really fit into any growth stage in particular. They're the leafy plants that are harvested before they're truly mature. So they've developed their first set of leaves, but are not quite as big as they could get. In terms of flavor, microgreens carry the most when compared to their younger selves, sprouts, and older siblings, baby greens or full-grown vegetables. Many studies have shown that depending on the variety, microgreens are more concentrated in nutritional value. So to sum it up, here are the differences between microgreens and sprouts. Microgreens are grown in soil, sprouts germinate in water. The leaves and stems of microgreens can be eaten. The stem and seed of sprouts can be eaten. Microgreens take around 1 to 3 weeks to grow, depending on the variety. Sprouts take under a week to grow. And microgreens are packed with flavor and are often used as garnishes. Sprouts are great for crunch. So that's kind of cool. Did that help you guys?
Yeah.
So that's a good difference between microgreens and sprouts. So again, like we were saying, it's the different parts of the growing cycle. So that's why the light, no light, you know. Can we sprout anything that can grow as a microgreen? I would assume so, like, yeah, because they all start with the seed.
Right.
You know, so it's a matter of whether you put it in soil or whether you put it in water. You know, so if you're taking, and I know that sometimes if the seeds have been heat treated, you know, like you can sprout nuts as well, but if the nuts have been roasted, they don't sprout.
Okay.
You know, so if you're trying to do almonds and they've already been roasted, then they're not going to sprout. So if you may, and you had mentioned too, Trina, that sometimes you come across dead seeds where they just, for whatever reason, they just don't sprout. But yeah, I mean, you should be able to sprout or microgreen. And I wonder too, if you sprouted like those garbanzo beans, if you then took some of those and put them in soil,
Would they
and then
grow?
they grow microgreens. I don't know. That might be. too
Well,
much
you know,
crazy.
I mean, I have a 25-pound bag of garbanzo beans. So I might as well give, I mean, because, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, why not? Why, you know, you get a 5% discount when you buy them at Winco, when you buy them
Right.
in the 25-pound bag. But
So you should take some of those lentils and sprout them and then see if you can grow microgreens.
yeah, well,
I don't
even-
know. I mean,
I don't know. Well, I'm thinking of the way I'm doing the peas.
right.
Because the peas I soak like you would sprouts, but then after one day, then I put them on the dirt directly.
When you soak those peas, did you ever see anything come out of them?
No,
Oh, okay.
it just like softens them. It softens the outer shell a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the very first time I did it, I just put them on the soil and wet the soil the way I, you know, and sprayed them. And they did not grow at all because the hard seed was too hard.
Too hard.
Barrier. Yeah, that barrier. That bran, is that what we called it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The shell. It was,
the
they
shell.
called it a shell, a protective shell. And it could be that they could consider it the bran. Do you think that that would work with your beets? Should you have soaked those?
I tried it. I even tried to sprout the beets. And even when, I mean, I got sprouts off of it, you know, and they were really pretty because they had a red tinge to them, you know, but when I took them out, that coating was hard and they were still attached. It wasn't like you could kind of shake it or ruffle it, you know, or rinse it off. They were still really hard.